We're counting down 20 of Townsville's top suburbs in 60 seconds each or less, and it's round 2. Let's go!
Starting off at number 20, we have Condon. Before the pandemic, we were seeing sales regularly in the $315,000 range, and now the median price is actually $437,000 as of November 2024. This year, the highest sale price in Condon was on a 2010 square metre block in Chelsea Drive. It sold for $1.37 million in May. The first residential development here was in 1968, and the suburb was named after the Irish Condon family who had a dairy farm here in the upper section of the Ross River. The highest sale price for a regular Condon home was actually here on Satriana Crescent. This 4-bedroom home sold for $650,000. Are there still bargains in Condon? Well, there certainly was one in March when the house behind me sold for just $130,000. Considering that if this house was brought up to a livable standard, it could rent for $450 per week. That is why we say Condon is a great place to invest. At number 19, we have Heatley.
This suburb used to be considered untouchable by both investors and homeowners alike. But with the rise in prices all over Townsville and other regional cities since the pandemic, Heatley has seen a staggering 97% growth in the last 5 years. The funny thing is, Heatley is so central. It's just 10 minutes to Townsville's largest employers, James Cook University and the hospital, and major shopping is so convenient at the Willows or Townsville Shopping Centre. The highest price sale of all time in Heatley was back in 2007, before the GFC. This home on a 1,629 square metre block on Co-Court sold for $625,000. Since the highest sale in 2024 was only $550,000, we think there's still room to grow your portfolio in this suburb. The biggest bargain buy in Heatley was here on Pardon Street. A 3-bedroom, 1-bathroom home was picked up in February for only $250,000. Why is everyone talking about Heatley? There's been a 97% growth in the last 5 years, and the median price is still affordable at $413,000.
At number 18 is Cranbrook. There are 2 sides to Cranbrook, divided by Ross River Road, and some people might be surprised by the prices found in some of the more affluent areas of the suburb. For the bargain hunter, there are still family homes available on the northern side that will give you a great rental return. The biggest bargain for 2024 is behind me here on Selwyn Street. This 1-bedroom, 1-bathroom house sold in March for $280,000. House prices here have gone up 93% in the last 5 years, showing that this riverside suburb is a solid place to invest. The top sale for this suburb is a 4-bedroom, 3-bathroom house on Moondurga Drive. It sold in July 2024 for $1.18 million and sits on the Ross River. Cranbrook has a mix of both 1970s high-set houses as well as unique properties you wouldn't expect, with the median house price sitting at $457,000.
Number 17 is the suburb of Garbutt. We are definitely going to take some heat for this one, but we think Garbutt is one of the best Townsville suburbs to buy in 2024, and here's why. The suburb takes its name from the local railway station, which was originally known as Garbutt Siding. The railway stop actually served a butchering firm established by Charles Overend Garbutt in the 1800s. Half of the suburb is residential, and it's located only about 10 minutes from Townsville's premier beachfront at the Strand in North Ward. The other half of the suburb is industrial, and it includes the RAF base and Townsville International Airport. So if you live here, catching a flight to Sydney, Melbourne, or Brisbane is so easy. The most expensive house that ever sold in the suburb is in the new development called Haven. And would you believe it's only on a 272 square meter block? This house is a 3-bed, 2-bath, and it sold for $650,000 in 2024. The least expensive house selling this year in Garbutt was on Peel Street and on a much bigger block. This traditional high set behind me is on 812 meters squared, and yet it sold for only $201,000, showing you the extreme value in this inner city suburb.
Coming in at number 16 is Aikenvale. When talking about million-dollar homes, Aikenvale is not the suburb that comes to mind. However, in 2024, this 5-bed, 4-bath house behind me sold for an astonishing $1.6 million. This is the highest price sale of all time in the suburb. The median price in Aikenvale is far more affordable at $453,000. This suburb is known for the formerly named Stockland Shopping Centre, which is now called Townsville Shopping Centre. Many of the houses here are high set with hardwood floors that were built for Australian soldiers during the middle of the last century. While this suburb is located on the river, due to the high banks, very few houses went underwater during the 2019 flood event. The biggest bargain in Aikenvale is this one behind me on Patrick Street. It's on 1,012 square metres and in June it sold for $245,000.
If you don't like your neighbours nearby and you're looking to live on a seriously big block less than 20 minutes from the CBD, Oak Valley might be the suburb for you. And that's why it's our number 15. You might be thinking, where the heck is Oak Valley? From the city, it's to the west on the way to Charters Towers, just past Mount Stewart. Some of the properties here have ocean views or views over the ridgeline to the Ross Dam and Kelso. The highest price house ever sold here was on Chisholm Trail. This 27-acre property sold in 2024 for $1,250,000. That might sound like a lot of land at an inexpensive price, but a lot of it is on unusable hillside. The biggest bargain buy in Oak Valley this year was on Brady Road. This 3-bed, 1-bath property on 5 acres sold for $600,000. Even though properties here have grown in value by 90% in the last 5 years, with land sizes this big for a median price of $697,000, is this Townsville's sleeper suburb?
Coming in at number 14 is Alligator Creek. Alligator Creek is home to Bowling Green Bay National Park and Alligator Creek Falls. This suburb receives more rainfall than the Northern Corridor, so your acreage property is likely to stay lush and green for most of the year. For this suburb, the highest selling property on 216 acres sold in 2018 for $1.9 million. Now, the biggest bargain for this suburb was a 1-bedroom house that sold in 2024 for $410,000 on Mount Cradle Court. You can still find traces of the old coach road where it crosses Alligator Creek, about 1.7 kilometres from the Bruce Highway. Alligator Creek is now connected to town water, but before 2006, most properties had to rely on their bores.
Coming in at number 13 is one of my favorite suburbs, Railway Estate. I personally chose to live right here in Railway Estate because the blocks are big, it's close to the city, and the houses are great value. From the entire suburb, it's just a short walk to the Queensland Country Bank Stadium, where you can cheer on the North Queensland Toyota Cowboys. Because it's low-lying, some areas of Railway Estate do flood during the king tides every year, so make sure you do your research before buying here or you might end up underwater. The highest price ever achieved in Railway Estate was a cutting-edge sale, and the house is just behind me. This 5-bed, 3-bath Queenslander sold in October 2024. It's located on a whopping 966 square meter block, and we got $850,000 for this house, despite the fact that it's on a main road. By contrast, the biggest bargain in the suburb is right here on Boundary Street, and you won't believe what a steal the house behind me was. It sold this year in 2024 for only $190,000. One of the largest boat ramp facilities in the entire state is located right here on the Ross River, but despite the size of the place, you've still got to get here pretty early in the morning on calm days to find a space for your car and your trailer.
Coming in at number 12 is Saunders Beach, one of the best beaches in the Townsville region. Yes, it's a 45-minute drive from the CBD, but where else in Australia can you own an absolute beachfront property for the prices you can find here? The least expensive house that sold in the suburb within walking distance to the beach was this house behind me on Island Street. It has 3 beds, 1 bath, and sold for just $305,000. Saunders Beach is a close-knit community where the kids still play in the streets and the adults get together on the weekends at the community hall. If you like to fish, you'll love the boat ramp just down the road, but of course you can cast a line right here from the beach. Want to see what broke the record here? The highest priced house ever sold in the suburb was on K Street. It sold in April 2024 for $1,050,000. This beachside palace has 4 beds, 3 baths, and amazing views straight out to the islands. It's only on a 546 square metre block, but your backyard looks like this.
When we think about central suburbs where there's still room for potential growth, Kurrajong immediately comes to mind, coming in at number 11. Most of the houses in this suburb were built in the middle of last century. And this group of neighbourhood shops here on Hermit Street give it a wonderful community vibe. In the last 5 years, the median price in Currajong has risen 94%, but there is still huge potential for growth. Up until November 2024, the highest sale was on Mison Street. This 4-bed, 2-bathroom property sold for $665,000. However, right before filming this video, Currajong cracked through the $700,000 ceiling. With 6 beds and 2 baths on Palmerston Street, the house behind me is the new record holder. There are still bargains in Currajong, and in September 2024, a house on Gerrard Street with 3 beds and 1 bath sold for $180,000. Can you believe it?
Townsville City is indeed a suburb and it's number 10 on our list. Most of the sales in this area are units, and we'll talk about those soon, but the highest sale house is here on Sir Leslie Thies Drive, right next to the casino. This 3-bed, 3-bath with a berth-free yacht sold in November 2023 for $2.35 million. The unit sale price is even higher. Behind me is the T1 building, and in 2009 the suburb record was set with a sale of $3.1 million for a 3-bedroom, 4-bathroom penthouse. The least expensive unit was sold in the Metro Keys apartments. A 1-bedroom, 1-bathroom sold for $190,000. Many of the houses here are on elevated terraces overlooking industrial parts of the city, so it's not really considered a family-friendly suburb. You have great access to all the best cafes and restaurants that the Townsville CBD offers, including the Beat Bar, which is perfect for your morning cup of coffee. Occasionally you can find bargains, like this one behind me on Will Street that sold for only $500,000 in 2024. This is $190,000 below the median sale price of $690,000 for the suburb.
As real estate agents, what do we hear all of the time? Excuse me, is this house in the Pimlico catchment? Townsville families know Pimlico High is one of the best schools in town to send your older children to. This central suburb is number 9 on our list, and it features the Castletown Shopping Center and, of course, the beautiful Anderson Botanical Gardens. The median sale price for this suburb is only $416,000 right now, but this is definitely a place where people are renovating, updating, and improving the houses because it is so close to the CBD. There are still bargains to be found here, like the little house behind me on Hague Street. This 2-bedroom house sold for only $175,000 in January 2024, but it did need quite a bit of work. The record-setting house for this suburb is just around the corner on Albany Road. This 4-bed, 3-bath house on the lake sold for $1,150,000. Something home buyers and investors should know. Even though Pimlico is full of lakes and waterways, very few of the houses here had trouble during the major flooding event we experienced in 2019.
Coming in at number 8 is Anuna. Anuna is actually an Indigenous word that means wet ground, but the majority of the residential area here is not prone to flooding, unlike nearby Idalia. It's only a 5-minute drive from here to the CBD, but despite the proximity to the city, the median price of this suburb is surprisingly low, making it a great choice for bargain hunters. In November 2024, the median home price here is just $547,000. This, however, has risen 82% in the last 5 years, giving it one of the highest growth rates in Townsville suburbs. The highest priced home sold in 2024 and of all time was right here on Bushlark Street. This 5-bed, 2-bath home sold for $915,000. The biggest bargain of the year for this suburb was right here on McAllister Street. This 1,012 square metre block was snatched up at $265,000. Does size matter? We don't think so. In September this year, Abigail Fairbanks from Cutting Edge Property sold a 3-bedroom house on Hurricane Street that was only on a 176 square metre block, and yet she was able to achieve $560,000.
Number 7, it's not plain, it's Bly Plains. This modern suburb consists of 2 main developments, Palinda Chase and Harris Crossing. Because of the recent extension to the Ring Road, it's easy to get here from Townsville's largest employers, James Cook University, the Townsville Hospital and Laverack Barracks. Prices here have increased 62% in the last 5 years. In 2024, the least expensive home sold in Bly Plains was here on Lyrebird Lane. This 3-bedroom, 1-bathroom home was picked up by one lucky buyer for $400,000. The highest selling home of all time in Bly Plains is here on Ellington Crescent. This ultra-modern 4-bedroom, 2-bathroom home sold for a whopping $950,000 in 2022. Now there are other houses that sold for more that are technically in Bly Plains, but these $1 million acreage homes don't really represent the suburb. There's a history of Bly Plains residents playing tennis that dates back to the early 1930s, and in Bly Plains you'll find the Palinda Chase Regional Tennis Centre.
Coming in at number 6 is Idalia. Newer Townsville residents probably don't know that most of Idalia was designated as an industrial estate until recently. In the 2000s, the Fairfield Waters development, with its beautiful lakes and walking paths along the river, totally changed the perception of this inner suburb. Families flock to this suburb for the newer homes, proximity to schools, and access to the shops at Fairfield Central. Despite most of the suburb going underwater in the 2019 floods, the median house price for the suburb still remains high at $677,000. Houses along the river and lakes fetch impressive prices. The top sale for 2024 was right here on Eastlake Avenue. This 5-bedroom house that sits on a 967 square metre block sold for $1.13 million. The highest sale of all time was in 2022 on Westbrook Drive. This 5-bedroom house behind me sold for $1.275 million. In 2019, Townsville received about 3 metres of rain in 2 weeks. This unprecedented series of storms caused the council to release water from the dam, which flooded 90% of the houses in this suburb. You'd think that would lead to bargains, but the least expensive house sold on Sanctuary Drive this year for $510,000. Ross River Meatworks was built in 1891 and was the first meat freezing facility. The chimney that was used is now heritage listed.
Coming in at number 5 is Palinda. This beachside suburb is often overlooked for the more modern bushland beach, but we love it because it's only 15 minutes from the CBD. If you like to fish, I'll catch you right here on the rocks just past the old jetty. On a high tide during the full moon, sometimes you can catch the elusive finger mark or even a barramundi. The median price for such a beautiful location is surprisingly low at only $578,000. However, the highest sale ever is on Seaward Crescent here at the corner of the Esplanade. The house behind me is a 4-bed, 3-bath, and it sold for $2,245,000 back in 2022. Mountain biking enthusiasts like me love the big 16-kilometer loop track here called Under the Radar. It takes you right along the beach with beautiful views of Magnetic Island and through a gorgeous lagoon in the town common. Where else in Australia can you live this close to the beach in a major city where the median price is under $600,000?
Coming in at number 4 is Hyde Park. It is believed to be named after Hyde Park in London. Most of the street names copy street names and suburbs in London, for example, Oxford Street, Bayswater Road and Park Lane. Hyde Park has some surprisingly big estates left over from when this was the rural distance suburb of the Townsville CBD. For example, the highest priced property of all time sits on a 2,476 square metre block here on Coleman Street. This astonishing property known as the Grail was sold in 2022 for $1,520,000. It has 7 bedrooms, 3 bathrooms and a beautiful tropical pool. This year, however, the highest price achieved was $965,000 for a 4-bed, 3-bath home on Delane Street. The biggest bargain for Hyde Park is this house behind me on Surrey Street, which sold in February for $225,000. The median sale price for this suburb is $504,000, so right in line with the Townsville region right now.
Coming in at number 3 is Misterton. What is the mystery behind Misterton? To start with, it's actually one of Townsville's smallest suburbs. It's sandwiched between Charters Towers Road and Kings Road, and it's right next to Pimco, but it commands much higher prices. We think it's such a lovely little pocket where Townsville families in the know have built some of the best houses close to the city. In fact, the highest sale of all time and the highest sale this year are both here on Bretnell Street. Let's start with the record breaker. This house on a massive 1,989 square metre block tipped the scales in 2022 and sold for a record-breaking $1,325,000. The highest selling house this year sold in September for $850,000. It's also a 4-bed, 2-bath here on Brentnall Street. This area is predominantly owner-occupiers, and with the high price of houses here over the years, it's only experienced a 56% growth in the last 5, which is much less than many other Townsville suburbs. While it might not be the place to invest, it certainly is a great place to live.
You can't talk about Townsville's best suburbs without including number 2, Hermit Park. Some of the best Queenslanders can be found on these streets between Queens Road and Charters Towers Road. This used to be a suburb where you could pick up a bargain and renovate, but in 2024, the lowest selling house still weighed in at $355,000 here on Hodell Street. Why was it such a bargain? It might have been that in 2019, this whole street and others surrounding it were inundated by the flooding of the Ross River. If you're buying in Hermit Park, always check your flood maps. You can expect to pay the median house price of $541,000 when purchasing in this suburb. However, the all-time record for Hermit Park was right here on White Street. This gorgeous 4-bedroom home on a 1/4 acre sold in September for $1,055,000.
And finally, the number 1 suburb in our countdown is the amazing Belgian Gardens. I'll bet you guessed it. Belgian Gardens was originally named German Gardens after a vineyard down below that was owned by a German settler. But during World War I, the suburb was renamed Belgian Gardens because of anti-German sentiment among the population. Did you know that? I just learned that. This hillside suburb has landed in our number 1 spot because of its proximity to the Strand, the CBD, and the incredible views of Rose Bay that you can glimpse from many of its homes. Houses here are extremely tightly held, and getting a property in this suburb can take some fastidious homeowners years of work to acquire, so you better get started now. The median price for our number 1 suburb is $710,000, but the highest sale ever is the house behind me here on St. James Drive. This house has 5 beds, 2 baths, and it's on an over 7,000 square meter block. This home was originally designed as the residence of the Anglican bishops of North Queensland, and it sold for an immense $2,225,000 way back in 2006. Well, that's 40 suburbs that the Cutting Edge team and I have covered. Is that all of Townsville? No! There's still a few more that we haven't been able to get to. If you're moving to Townsville, make sure you reach out to our team and we'll help you find the perfect home. And of course, if you're selling your Townsville home, we are the video marketing specialists. We've successfully sold over 400 Townsville houses using creative videography, just like you're watching right now. If you like this video and you'd like to see what we do in our normal job, you should check out my Mission Impossible video for Winston Crescent. You'll find it at the top of my YouTube channel. The next video we're making is the step-by-step process of how to buy a house in Queensland. So if you're watching this after January 2025, make sure and find that video in our channel to see how to do it. If you're still watching this, what are you doing? Get out there and buy a house in Townsville. They're only going to go up over the next couple years. I'd like to give a huge thank you at this point to the amazing lights camera Ashley, who's there behind the camera filming this. Thank you so much for all your support and help. I'd also like to thank the incredible Todd Ireland, who helped me write this video, the amazing Abigail Fairbanks, the uncomparable Lisa Hall, and the incredible Sarah Anshin. Thank you, team members, for supporting me in this project and for doing such a good job filming your suburbs. That's it. That's all. Video done. We'll see you at the open homes.